Alright guys, this video is not going to be super spiritual, but it's going to be very interesting. Interessante. It's going to be on the sixth dimension, how it pertains to seeing the future, and how it could be possible that we could actually see the future within the terms of physics. As many of you know, if you know me personally, I am very into physics, and I've done a lot of research recently on like 6 dimensions and all kinds of that sort of stuff. So, okay. First of all, I recommend that you watch a bunch of videos. The ones that you need to see is Imagine the 4th Dimension, Imagine the 5th Dimension, look them up on YouTube, and Imagine the 6th Dimension. Good stuff. Oh my god, good explanation of it. Imagine the 6th dimension is where you need to get up to understand, but I'll do a baseline reading of it, okay? So, we live in a 4D world. Time, you seeing me, the fact that the light is reflecting back to your eyes, that is a time duration. And it affects all things, you know, affects how you see and that you perceive the world and everything else. Okay, so then 5th dimension was like an alternative time. In other words, the fact that there were alternative, so in other words, we in a way live in a 5th dimensional world. 5th dimension meaning there are alternative times that exist at the same time with us, exist on our plane, but we don't perceive them. So in other words, the 5th dimension exists entirely in our universe because we actually have perceived atomic matter popping in and out between different universes, which means that they exist in multiple places at the same time. Does that make any sense to you? No, it usually wouldn't. But same concept is the computer that you're looking at is not solid. It's actually mostly made up of space. Now, if you don't understand that, trust me, take a physics class or look up what I'm talking about, okay? And just exit out the video, please. Or message me. I love to teach about this, so you know, message me. I'll give a baseline explanation. But okay, so the 5th dimension exists, and we know that. Now, 6th dimension also exists. The 6th dimension is the ability to perceive and add another, in a way, angle to it. Hard to explain, but let's imagine, okay, you've got a sheet of paper, and then you have your timeline. It goes from one side to the other, okay? You got this line. Sink here. Okay? Now, alternatively, let's imagine the string of your time. So this is a 4th dimension, okay? Space-time contained within the string. Okay? Now let's imagine you take the string and you expand it. That's the 5th dimension. Okay? Now, to get to the 6th dimension. So the 5th dimension exists, but you can't perceive it. You don't perceive it at all. Now 6th dimension is that string, it extends up and extends sideways like this. Okay? And the 6th dimension is unperceivable by any means. No, you can't even see that the atomic matter really doesn't hardly even seem. It is starting to work with the fabric of all space that is. Okay, to imagine it is to be like literally you're walking along and you see an alternative time where, and to use the example from Imagine the 6th dimension, you see dinosaurs that didn't die off walking alongside you, but not being there at the same time, not existing in your 3D world or 4D world, however you want to put it. Actually, it'd be 3D because, you know. But not existing in your 3D world, but being there nonetheless. Interesting concept, isn't it? So, What if that were the case? Now, to get off of the actual known physics, what if it were possible for us to perceive the world, or perceive the sixth dimension, but in flashes, on a mental scale? What if that were possible? That makes sense. That's how people could possibly see the future, because it could always be slightly ahead. And as with all things within the fourth dimension, you have time forward, time back, and then you can see alternative outcomes to it without actually seeing it. And at every point in time along the sixth dimension, you have additional fan out, and then you move along a little bit along one time in the air, and it fans out even more. Every single perceived amount, it can fan out and create more alternatives to everything that could be an alternative world, which we do not perceive. What if it were possible that we could perceive it in some way, when that gives us a way to see the future in an alternative means, alternative form? So one could say, what if we could, within the 4D realm, within the 4D aspect or 5D aspect, what if it were possible for us to see slightly ahead? Interesting concept. Because, I mean, they admit to the fact that if you've got a direction, you can move forward and backwards, right? It's possible. However unlikely, but still possible. So, with this understood, couldn't seeing the future and perceiving it and affecting things like that be a possibility? Scary concept, right? Maybe it is possible that we as human beings have the ability to see the future. And here's the funny thing, they did a study with people. They had little electrodes hooked up to the brain. Okay, you've seen them where wire their entire brain up. Okay, and then they take them and they read the brain as it processes things, and then they'll show images. They'll go with like little bunnies skipping, hopping rabbits, and they'll do something scary. Well, the electrodes picked up that information split second before the image even flashed on the screen. That means that the brain literally picked up the image before the eyes had time for the light to bounce back to it, before the image even got onto the screen itself. Barely perceivable to the person, yet they knew about it beforehand. Maybe our brains are wired differently than what one would think. Maybe it is a possibility that one could take that split-second sight and be able to see momentarily farther into the future. Now, this thing's starting to make sense a little bit. Now this one's gonna derail and perhaps, make you a little bit more crazy on this video, because this one actually turned out okay without sounding too crazy. But here's another concept. Every part in religious circle that really says anything about doing miracle work or doing things usually says something about energy. Atomic matter pops in and out and does weird things on an atomic scale. Everything is very, very weird and not very structured, not very well understood. Like literally an atom in one part of the room suddenly ends up in another part of the room. How is it possible? It's a lot of explanation and a lot of mathematical calculations. I mean, literally on the atomic level, things mathematically are different. What if we, as a human being, and as the tests have shown, simply by the act of looking, we affect atomic matter just by the fact of looking, not even being in the room, not even breathing on the tank, completely separate, yet observing it. Some weird things happen. What if, even though you're separate, you are affecting things on an energetic level and on the atomic level. Now what if all magics, all things that were all related with that, what if all of them, all affected things on the atomic level, which then eventually had a domino effect. If it does lose energy, I mean even dominoes lose energy, losing that, having that sort of effect into the physical world, what if that's were the means by which we did things? Unnatural things. Just simply understanding the will to make it work and to observe it, even without realizing exactly what we're doing. What if that were the means that we are able to do anything? Kind of a crazy concept. And, you know, I'll probably be like, people will be like, yeah, I see what you're talking about on the sixth dimension thing, and you lost it. But, I mean, think about it, and do your research, okay? That's all I can say, is you gotta do research. If you don't, then, you know, it's no, why you even watching? But, I can point you in a direction, and that's what I can do. I am not the researcher, but look at the actual research on the particle what was it called? Accelerated particle collider. Big thing at CERN in Switzerland that takes atoms and spins them around really, really fast and then has them collide. Looking at fabric of the universe, attempting to figure out Big Bang, blah blah blah. Finding antimatter, yes, huge project. Okay, yeah, look at that. Do research with that. Look at all the different things that have occurred from those particular experiments, and that, you know, that when they're looking and observing things on an atomic level, and just the act of looking is actually affecting the readings. You know, so very odd and very interesting things. It's like, you know, first, you know, you start to think, how does that affect it? How does it affect it? Why does it affect the results? Not like you're doing anything different. Everything's the exact same. But yet the results are different because you're looking. Anyway, I will say goodbye. And you guys can call me crazy all you want. You can say I've got crappy spelling. I know it's true. And I don't care. So, anyway, for the rest of you, thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoy. And continue looking into physics. It's crazy where it's going, man. Alright, like I always say, keep it living, or keep it real, keep it living. Don't get yourselves killed out there.